just a game and the prize is just a prize. How do you keep a straight face when you're telling?
How's it going?
Yeah.
Better than the last one.
Yeah, better than the last one. I mean, we made it to Australia, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, you can govern a good cycle by whether you get to Australia or not. So
I suppose Australia's pretty expensive, isn't it?
it's expensive, and you guys are picky. So if we make it here, we're happy. Yeah, no, it's going very well. It's going very well. We have we have a song that's doing well at radio in North America, and that's still. Somebody said to me the other day, I asked them, where is radio now in the music business? And they said to me, radio has never been less important, and it's never mattered more. And that's sort of a depressing truth about the music industry.
So obviously Triple J is a big part of Australia here.
Yeah.
Obviously without the Triple J support, bands like Stars wouldn't really be able to come out here, I suppose.
No. So fortunately this time I think they've played us a little bit and they've been supportive. So
Really, I think they could be more supportive.
they could be more supportive. I mean, I'm
Please
not
play
saying
more
they
of us
couldn't
on
be.
your station.
Yeah.
So listening to the album, it sounds like it doesn't really have any filler tracks whatsoever.
Thank you.
Is that?
Yes.
I'm assuming these songs were written more individually without like a theme behind the album as such, or?
Yeah, they were. They were more. We really tried to write 3 or 4 songs from each kind of approach that we've taken over the years. So some of the songs were written very much a band in the room. Some of them were written very electronically. Some of them were written intended to be quite florid and orchestrated, and some of them were written to be very electronic. And before this, we've been very kind of set on a specific method in the way that we approach a record. We'll choose our instruments. A lot of it has to do with the gear that we decide to use before we start working. And this time, we kind of scheduled out different scenarios. We recorded in our own studio a little bit. We recorded in a big studio a little bit. We recorded in a country house in the woods a little bit. So we just kind of tried to bring different layers, different levels of our career, I guess, to the record, and not be so mono in our approach.
So you're a Canadian band, but from listening to your music, there's a lot of the English feel about it. So are you English?
So I'm an English person.
So is that where it comes from, or is it more?
Well, that's definitely part of it. I would say I wouldn't give credits that I'm English, but we all love English bands, like me and Evan and Chris and Amy. When the band first really got together, we really we bonded over the Smiths a lot. We really listened to a lot of those bands, and I guess my role in the band, in a way, was these guys are the musicians, and I have the record collection. And we spent a lot of time when we first became friends with me playing these guys' records, and me and Cranley were very, very into Elvis Costello as kids, and that was a big influence on both of us. So we just grew up loving that music, I think, and the band was formed around the idea of that music. And when it started, we were all interested and engaged in making music that was influenced by that stuff. So it became what we were good at doing, And I think it's true of a lot of Canadian music, to be honest. It's English pop music has been a big influence in Canada over the last 20 years, and you can hear it in pretty much every band out of Canada. You can hear it in Arcade Fire. You can definitely hear it in the Deers. You can hear it in pretty much everyone. So even Purity Ring, the newer bands, very influenced by 4AD and by the Cocteau Twins and stuff.
So
Yeah.
So what is the Canadian music scene like at the moment? Like, do you get much backing
music.
through?
I mean, we really do rule music. If you think about it, we have the biggest pop star in the world. We have one of the biggest rappers in the world. We have the trendiest indie star in the world. We have the biggest indie rock band in the world. We have huge country music stars. We have people who are doing well across all genres and in all forms. And
We have Ben Hebner.
we have the biggest opera star in the world. It's pretty incredible. It's got a lot to do with the fact that for the last 25 years or so, I don't know if they have this in Australia, but they brought in Canadian content laws in Canada in the 80s, which meant that radio stations had to play a certain percentage of Canadian music. And for a while that meant that you heard a lot of really bad stuff on the radio, but because it fomented a scene and it created a community and it created an industry, it was really important, you know, and it's built something where people can make a living just selling records in Canada instead of having to go cap in hand to the United States. And once you have that, then you have a really strong scene. We have a lot of funding too. We have a lot of touring events and a lot of events. So it's been a great time to be a musician in Canada in the last 20 years.
Yeah. And there's a new tour EP out, is that correct? Or a tour EP?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Well, it's got, we put a couple out. I think one of them is just for Australia. I'm not sure if our version of Cattle and Cane by the Go-Betweens made it on there, but I tried to get it on there. And the other one is a couple of tunes from us and a couple of tunes from other bands that are touring with us in North America.
That'll be North American.
Yeah, which is Milo Green and Cold Specs. And has Cold Specs been down here yet? She's great. Yeah, content, you know, you have to keep putting music out pretty much constantly these days in order to keep getting the attention of the attention span challenged youth of today.
So, from listening to your music, there's a lot of, I suppose, things that, you know, current day issues or your personal issues that might influence the music. Do you find it hard to ensure that the music and the lyrics remain timeless, I suppose?
Well, that's why we stay away from, although we're very, you know, we have very strong political opinions, some of us as people, especially me. We don't really write political songs, and that definitely is part of it, is that it's very hard to write a timeless political song. It takes a lot of skill, and it's a very particular talent. And, you know, being treated like shit by people that you love is a timeless topic. You'll always love someone, and they'll probably always treat you like shit. So, that's something that we've chosen to write about a lot, because we do want to write songs that people listen to for a long period of time. And you know, for me, pop music has always been a thing that is a way of, it's like photographs. It records my memories, and it puts me back in certain periods of my life. And I think we'd like to be that kind of band for people.
So, like, obviously your music's central to the theme love. Would you say that the theme of forgiveness is a strong point of your music as well?
I think it's a strong point in trying to keep your band together for 13 years, that's for sure. I think it's a central part of why we've lasted so long. Good sense of humor and forgiveness. If that makes its way into the music, then great. It's definitely something that's kept us going.
Yeah, I mean, we come from a group of people, you know, who are, some of them, we're all in different bands, but we've really grown up together and gone through the process of trying really hard to do well, and then doing well, and then being complete assholes about doing well. And so we've had a lot of forgiving to do, and we've asked a lot of forgiveness of people. And that's why I think the last the Social Scene record was called Forgiveness Rock Record, you know, because nobody has asked for forgiveness more often than Kevin Drew, except possibly me. And, it's a great group of friends, because people do forgive easily in this crew. And as Cranley says, you know, it's why we're still here.
So, a lot of people call you indie rock, indie pop, and you like to describe yourself as a pop band, I suppose. Why is that?
Well, because we're affiliated with Universal Music, which is about as independent as the English royal family. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, that indie pop to me connotes like, it's fine, you can call it what you want, but all music is pop music. Anything with a hook. Mozart is pop music, Marvin Gaye is pop music. Converge is pop music. Iron Maiden is pop music. And if they don't think they are, they're kidding themselves. Because if I could do you an Iron Maiden cover that's right now that sounds like Goche. You know what I mean? It's all just chords with a chorus and a verse. And you're trying to hook people with a memorable series of notes that sticks in their head. And I love that about pop music, that it's bass and it's low. And putting indie in front of it seems to me to be hinting that you're doing something clever. And, you know, I live in fear of being in a clever pop band. That would be a truly sickening experience. That's not what pop music's here for. It's here to be stupid and reckless and match the ridiculousness of your life.
I read somewhere that you basically said, I don't know if I'm paraphrasing, but when you started out, you didn't think you were good enough to make the kind of music you wanted to make. Now, when was that turning point, I suppose, in your career as a band?
Well, yeah. Did you feel that way? I think we've been getting closer and closer to it.
I think we haven't really. I think we're always trying to find that with every record, really. I think we're getting better and better at it with every record. Maybe we'll never achieve it. I don't know, but that's the process. Is the process, right? It's trying to capture.
So I suppose you still have that in the back of your mind, that sort of that peak you want to reach with your music, and it's still to come, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of there's a lot of hard work goes into the records because, you know, Chris Seligman, who deals with all the keyboards and sort of the atmospheric sounds. He's a very perfectionistic person, and Evan is as well. And we don't really have songs. We have a few songs that are kind of A-B, but most songs we write have 3 or 4 or 5 sections in them. And these guys get bored really easily. If they find something too easy, they tend to make it difficult for themselves in order to stay interested. So we end up facing a lot of challenges just in terms of getting the ideas to flow one to the next cohesively and smoothly. And I think, yeah, we are getting better at it, but that's the problem. I mean, it was a problem because we feel frustrated a lot of the time when we're making music, but on the other hand, like, I think a band like the Strokes, who are an awesome band, they're an amazing band, but once you make that first record, which is so stripped and so basic and so simple, and that formula works so perfectly, well then what do? You know, do you make 5 more records like that? Do you try and overcomplicate it? So it's tough if you're a straight ahead guitar rock band to keep yourselves interested in the process, and I think that's why we kind of intentionally threw all this other stuff in there to keep it imperfect and keep us interested in the process of trying to create it. You know?
So you've been around for that long now. Are you at that stage where you sort of will just ignore the reviews and articles on your latest albums and stuff like that?
I think it depends who you ask. I've actually become more interested in it the more that I'm in this band and more that I'm in the music business. I'm more curious now what people think about us. If you asked me 6 years ago, I wouldn't have read a thing. But
I would say the opposite is true of me. 6 years ago, I gave a shit a lot, and now I don't care at all.
I suppose on to my next question would be that I read it was about 6-7 years ago that you basically weren't a fan of the acknowledgement of your music or awards and that, but then a little bit later on I read another
never
review.
won one, so I don't know whether I'm a fan or not.
And then I read later on that something that was nice to get the recognition and acknowledgement of your work the later you get in your career. Would that?
Yeah, maybe we'll get a lifetime.
I mean, I don't. Yeah. I've been in. My parents were actors in the theater, and I was an actor, and my wife is an actor, and I've been getting reviews since I was 8 years old. You know, and it's a dance that you do, and it's a tricky one because press advertises your art, but it can also crush your art. You know, so if you take it too seriously when they tell you you're good, then you have to take it seriously when they tell you you're bad. And I think, for me, I try to adopt, I guess, quite a violent and sort of, I try to fuck with the press as much as I can, and I try to.
And the politicians?
Yeah, I think part of being in a band is fucking with the powers that be and being silly and offensive and provocative and letting kids know that they can do that. I'm a grown-up, I shouldn't behave the way I do, but I want 18-year-olds to know that it's important that they should tell everyone who they think is, has power over them to go fuck themselves. That's what rock and roll is here to do. It's what pop music is here to do, is to make you a fool. So if I don't act a fool, I'm not doing my job, So, generally speaking, I think critics have always been pretty generous to us, but on another level, we're not a kind of band that critics like very much, because we get our heart and we go on the table, and that doesn't leave them much to do, We're not quite mysterious enough, maybe, for the press. But,
And we have bad hair.
we have bad hair.
Yeah, if we had better haircuts, maybe we'd do better.
Yeah. But, I thanks very much for coming.
Thank you.
Glad you wrote about us,